Morning, Graham.
Morning, Rob.
This is Graham Bartlett. And Graham, can you just tell us all a bit about yourself in terms of your previous police life, where you were, where you worked, and perhaps when you left?
Yeah, sure. I retired from Sussex Police 5 years ago, almost exactly 5 years ago. I've been in Sussex Police for the full 30 years. My last job was as the Chief Superintendent Divisional Commander for Brighton and Hove. Prior to that, I've mainly been a detective, predominantly working around product protection, specialist investigations, that sort of area. But I worked my way up from being a PC at 18 to, as I say, the Divisional Commander at Brighton on retirement.
All right. It's probably worth me mentioning for the record here, Graham, you and I know each other from probably 5 years ago when we both kind of made that attempt at the police national assessment.
We did. Certainly attempt on my part was a really poor attempt. But these things happen for a reason, and I think if I hadn't have failed that particular assessment, I probably wouldn't have retired and wouldn't have had the life and the freedoms that I've got now.
Yeah, and I'm exactly the same as you, Graham. So in terms of the experience, Graham, when you left, I mean, what kind of assistance or help did the Sussex Police give you when you left?
Well, if I'm honest, not a huge amount. Obviously, through my own networks, I spoke to a number of retired officers, found out a little bit about what they were doing. I made the decision fairly early on that I didn't want to come back in a non-police role back into the organisation, and that's right for some people. It didn't feel right for me. I wanted to make a break from the organisation. Certainly in the short term, I haven't gone back at all, and never say never. But I've got no immediate plan to go back. But I wanted to see what life was like on the other side. So, spoken to one or two people, I decided to set up my own company specialising around, well, initially it was around safeguarding, chairing safeguarding boards, being a reviewer on domestic homicide reviews, serious case reviews, but it's kind of gone in different directions now.
Okay. And again, Graham, if you can wind back, I can't remember, was it 4 or 5 years ago when you left?
Yeah, just shy of 5 years. 5 years.
Okay. Any concerns, any kind of feelings about what you were going into when you made that decision not to come back into policing?
Oh, I mean, huge anxiety. I knew it was the right time to go. I'd been doing the job that I was doing for just over 4 years, and I loved it. For me, it was the best chief superintendent job in the force.
Yeah.
I had the suspicion that they might start just moving some chief superintendents around. I didn't want to do anything else. I could retire, but I was hugely anxious. I didn't know what I wanted to do particularly. I knew, as I say, what I didn't want to do. But I knew that I wanted to leave and do something.
Okay. I mean, and again, Graham, in terms of hints and tips, would you have you knowing what you now know? Are there any hints and tips for those that are going to follow in your footsteps? Not necessarily from Sussex, from any force.
Yeah, I suppose the one thing that I would have done differently if I'd have had my time again is have a bit more of a plan. As I say, I knew what I didn't want to do. I wasn't entirely sure what I did want to do.
Yeah.
What actually happened was that a particular safeguarding board chairing role came up I think probably advertised about 2 months before I was due to leave.
Right.
Background and where it was actually in Brighton. I applied for it and was lucky enough to get the job. So I kind of fell straight into that, and then that sort of merged into lots of different things. But I never really had a clear plan in my head what it was I wanted to do. And I would say to anyone, if you are going to leave an organisation like the police, have a plan. Even if that plan is to do nothing, to read books, to potter in the garden, have a plan, because that's where I struggled a little bit, I think, in the first couple of years.
Okay, that's really sound advice there, Graham. And we are interviewing people that have got anything from, say, 3 years service up to 30 years service, and the advice of having a plan, I think, is absolutely top there in terms of that. So, in the 5 years, then, Graham, can you tell us what you've done and in terms of job-wise?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've chaired the Brighton and Hove Local Safeguarding Children Board, as I say. I've also now taken on the Safeguarding Adults Boards in Brighton and Hove and East Sussex. I'm on my 7th domestic homicide review, which has been fascinating. I've just started to do children's serious case reviews and adult safeguarding adult reviews. Sorry, children's case reviews and adult safeguarding adult reviews as well. But on top of that, I've written a book with a well-known author called Peter James, and that became a Sunday Times top 10 bestseller. So I'm going to do more books. I've got I've got the writing bug.
Yeah.
I've coached prospective senior officers, police senior officers, towards their promotion, and had quite a degree of success in that. I do safeguarding audits in schools. Goodness.
You've done lots.
And I advise authors and TV writers on police procedure as well.
Wow. Good. If I can go into maybe one or two of those areas, and just in terms of, because we will be really inquisitive and want to know how did you get into some of these things?
To be honest, I've never advertised. I've got a website. In fact, I've got 2 websites. One for my safeguarding, and one for my writing and my police advising. But I've never paid any for any advertising at all. I think one of the things that we don't appreciate as a breed of police officers and ex-police officers is actually the worth that we have in our work ethic, in our ethos, in our culture. So most of the work that I've picked up has been as a result of personal recommendations and professional recommendations from other pieces.
Right.
The domestic homicide reviews. I was asked. I remember I was on a cable car in Lisbon. That was another thing I used to advise on drugs enforcement policy, and I was speaking at a conference in Lisbon, and I got a phone call from West Sussex County Council saying, "I don't know if you're available. We've got this domestic homicide review that we're going to be doing." And I knew of them, I'd never done one. I said, all right, then I'll do that. And then, as a result of that, others have come along because people. And I think, from my experience, from when people have, because I've asked this question, why me? Yeah. They like the fact that people with a police background are reliable, tenacious. They got an eye for detail. They turn up on time. They go the extra mile, and that's just something that everyone who's ever carried a warrant card would be like. And sometimes we don't see that in ourselves. I think sometimes we see, well, we're kind of boxed in this law enforcement category, and that's all that we can do. And actually, there's a whole lot more, because the skills that allow us to remain in that box and to flourish in that box are so useful and valued outside. Yeah, it's an interesting point you make there, Graham. The transferable skills one is one of the key questions. Lots of, mainly police. I know we've got police staff in our group and membership as well. But in terms of policing, then, I mean, what kind of key skills do you think were readily transferable to doing what you're doing now? I think decision making. I think analytical skills. Leadership. Being able to blend leadership with being a team player as well. So being able to kind of drift from one, not drift so much perhaps, but being able to morph from being a leader when you need to being a collaborator when you don't. Yeah. I think particularly some of the partnership boards that I've done, there have been some tensions between different agencies, and I think we're very good at bringing partnerships together, bringing people together and getting them to work towards a common aim. Yeah. Seeing the greater good at the end of it. So in my safeguarding work, for example, on boards, whatever we're doing, I will always want to know, how's that going to improve outcomes for children? How's that going to improve outcomes for vulnerable adults? Yeah. That just gets people thinking, actually, this isn't about saving money in my organisation. It's certainly not about, how we can, offset the responsibility to others. It's actually how we're going to make that vulnerable child or that vulnerable adult safe. And feel safer at the end of all of this. And I think we have the ability to see through some of the bureaucracy and some of the organisational tension and politics. So that's what we do. Yeah, good. I like that. Good stuff there, Graham. Yeah, and I'm with you in terms of all those skills that you definitely can transfer across as well. So in terms of personal development, I mean, I don't know if you've done any, Graham, and if you have, what advice could you give to people? I've not done a huge amount of sort of formal courses or anything like that. I mean, obviously, there's been some things that I've needed to do in terms of the review work.
Yeah.
Skilling up on that. But I'm one of these people that I think I get quite nervous about going into a professional or another agency's environment, another discipline, and not knowing very much about them. So I spend an awful lot of time trying to get to know a particular area. So, for example, when I went into safeguarding, one of the partners that I really struggled with was the NHS. Now, I thought, fool that I was, I thought the NHS was one organisation, and that the NHS, and of course, now I know it's, the NHS is a myth. It's it's a network of commissioners, providers, regulators. There's community, there's primary care, there's mental health. There's specialist tertiary, all of that, and I really needed to understand that. So I spent an awful lot of time with some really good people, learning about how it all ticks. And I'm no expert on it, but I now know enough to be able to provide that regulatory oversight role that I have to do.
I remember, Graham, you and I had a telephone conversation prior to this, and you were talking about the book writing. So I know there's lots of budding book writers out there, ex-police, and probably more on the CID side than on the operational side. But and I think from memory, correct me if I'm wrong, you mentioned going and doing some kind of being trained with, it might have been with Peter James. I can't remember exactly what you said to me, but I know you said you were doing something about learning the skills of book writing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hugely fortunate because I decided that I wanted to write books, and as many people do, and I showed a bit of work. Peter James, who's, people that don't know, is a very well-known, successful crime author, probably one of the tops of 5 or 6 crime writers in the country, if not the top one. And he's a friend of mine. Did some work with him when he was in the police. When I was in the police, when he was researching, and I sent him some blogs that I've written and said, what do you think? And he said, all right. He said, you've got a good style about you. He said it's nowhere near the style that needs to be to be able to publish, but I mean, cut a long story short, he said, if you want to write a book with me, I will, you'll do all the hard work, and I will teach you the art of writing. So I had one of the country and possibly the world's best crime writers. With my writing. So and I've done a lot of sort of self-learning around it, reading around it, doing online courses, that sort of thing. How to approach writing, and then it makes you a very different reader as well. It makes you on a critical and a positive way reader. I know what the author's doing here now, and I know why they've gone to this particular point of view. And as a result of that, as I say, I've written a book. Peter published it. I'm writing a novel at the moment, which I'm hugely enjoying. But I'm doing it with a far greater knowledge than when I started writing. But I like to, and I've got a lot of friends now that are authors through this, and I try and give back as well. So I provide a service to them where I advise them on police procedure. In fact, I run masterclasses around the country advising new authors on police procedure. I've lectured at university about it. And I'm taking part in summer schools. I mean, it's really interesting because we know what we know. And sometimes it's hard to get that across about how the police work with one another. For example, I'll give an example. So a really good friend of mine was a DS. So if we're in a public meeting with me, the chief superintendent, or a meeting with other officers, it's Sir, Gov, Mr. Bartlett, etc., etc. If he's in my office and the door's closed, he'll call me all things under the sun, but he'd never call me Gov or Mr. Bartlett, because that's just the way that the police work. And also, obviously, there's the more the more technical aspects of how to investigate crime. What the range. I work with, I say I work with Peter on that. I've worked with Dorothy Coombs, William Shaw, Robert Brinzer, some really, really good ones who just lap it up. They absolutely love. I think for me, it's possible because I also know a bit about their craft as well, so I can. Just a case of saying, oh no, the police would never do it like that, or that's not how you get DNA, or that's they would talk. It's actually finding ways so that they can develop their narrative where they want to.
Yeah.
And correct.
Yeah.
I always say, because you can always gloss over things. The mantra I always give is, you don't always have to get it right, but never get it wrong. So if you go into the detail, you've got to get that correct. If you're not sure, just sort of brush over it a little bit.
Yeah. I like that. I really like that bit you mentioned a couple of minutes ago about giving back. And I think a lot of cops do like to give back. You've got to where you are, and you've done a really good job in terms of the policing side. And it sounds like you're really enjoying what you're doing there. But that giving back feeling is good as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it is. It is. And I think, I think people appreciate. Well, they do appreciate. They appreciate it. What one word of warning that I would give to people that are about to leave the police is, don't give too much back. You can undervalue your own knowledge, skills, expertise, and what I found, particularly in the early days when I started doing some coaching for people going for a superintendent's procedure. I mean, the first lot I'd agreed to do before I retired, and so I didn't charge them. And then very, very difficult after that, asking people for money and getting that business head on. I've got something here that you want. If you went outside, you have to pay a huge amount of money for this. And actually, for me, it was all internal. I remember someone that I worked with for many years. He's now an assistant chief constable, and I was helping chief superintendent procedure. And I said, we're charging for this. She went, goodness me, of course I wasn't going to ask for free. I'm eating myself up thinking,
you feel bad about asking for money because cops are not used to asking for money.
Absolutely.
I like that one, Graham. That's good. It's like change of tackling, Graham. And bear in mind, you're not on call anymore. You don't have that phone sat next to you wondering, what if. But what's the impact been on your family life and your that side of it in terms of what you're doing there?
Yeah, I mean, it's I still take on too much work, so I'm not cruising around the world or walking the Pennine Way or anything like that. I still have to learn to say no, but the way in which I work is completely different. It's completely different, as you say. There's no more call. There's no more. You have to be here at such and such a time.
Yeah.
So I'm able to sort of literally control my own diary. So if I don't. On a particular day, then I won't do it. I mean, there's certain things that in safeguarding board meetings, for example, are set a year ahead.
Yeah, you know where they are.
But I can work when I want to work, or not work when I fancy some time off or do something. But there's a negative side to that as well, because you lose a sense of identity when you leave. You overnight you're a police officer, whatever rank, you're a police officer, and if people say to you, what do you do? The answer's simple if you can tell them. Some people don't like to. What do you do? Oh, I'm in the police, I'm a police officer. Even if you don't say what you do, I'm a police officer. It's like, what do you do? And you go, ooh, that's a really good question, actually. Am I a consultant? Am I safeguarding? Am I an author? Am I a coach? Am I a reviewer? You kind of, and it's interesting, but you just kind of think, who am I? And I never thought I'd be like that.
I guess I'm trying to sum it up for you here, Graham. I think you help people in society in one way, shape or form, whether that's through reading a book that you have written or whether it's the meetings that you have attended. One way or the other, you are helping other people in society.
And I've always, I suppose on reflection, I've always worked in areas that do that. I've never worked for, obviously I have my own private company, but never worked for a commercial entity. Not that I wouldn't, but I'm drawn to public service rather.
Yeah. That's good. Another change of tack here, Graham. In terms of social media, because lots of people are into this tweeting and Facebook and LinkedIn and all the other things. I know you're on some of these things as well. What use have you made of social media since leaving policing?
I kind of go hot and cold with it, really. Sometimes I get bored with it all and just don't. I found it very useful around publicising my book, publicising the masterclasses that we do. Almost essential for that. I don't think in terms of having a sort of brand. Some ex-police officers have a bit of a brand about things that they are tweeting around all the time. I don't think I've really got that at all. And sometimes I prefer just to kind of just watch what's going on rather than necessarily contribute to it.
Yeah.
You come out with it. I mean, I've had it a couple of times. You come out with you send a tweet out or something, and you might have put a comma in the wrong place, which changes the meaning of the tweet. And all of a sudden, you've got a pack of people sort of hounding.
Yeah. Feedback.
So, I run a bit hot and cold with it, really. I think if I was in a position where I needed to sort of develop a profile around a particular aspect of what I do, I would use it more, and I would certainly promote it. And a lot of people do that very, very well.
Yeah.
Not only, obviously get business from it, but also, contribute to some very important debates.
Yeah. I must admit, we talked about some of these authors, Graham. Some of these authors that we talk about, your Ian Rankins and your Peter James, Peter Robinson, they seem to use social media very well on the Facebook side, I think, more than anything.
Yeah, they do, and certainly, from around the book publication, Peter and I sat down quite a long time and worked out how we would use Facebook particularly. I mean, he's obviously, people tend to have more followers on Twitter than people that like pages or are friends with them on Facebook.
Yeah.
Your Twitter timeline sort of has a shelf life of about 7 minutes or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But we talked about, okay, what areas will I post about, bearing in mind that my followership is much lower than his.
Yeah.
What will he look at? So develop this bit of this agreement. We obviously did the basics, like making sure that every post had a photo or video. People just gloss over it. And did some live stuff as well. Did some Facebook live stuff.
Yeah. I think that's a good point you make here, Graham, about if you're in the same organisation, lots of cops are joining up as a team. Like Mark and I have done with Leaving the Police is a good example, but I know there's lots of teams out there, at least two in these teams. And this thing about, well, you do this bit and I'll do this bit, and I hadn't ever thought of that before. So it's a good tip for people to split up, even which social media are you going to use.
Yeah. I think if you can kind of have those discussions, not just around social media, but about any part of business. I mean, I work on my own, but obviously, I have, I work with other people outside of my business. And there are managers, there are directors of social care, all those sorts of people. And if you want to avoid fallouts and tears and tantrums down the line, always be really clear about who's going to do what, when, and why. Yeah. Because otherwise, you're from no fault of anyone. You'll overlap. There'll be gaps, and the cracks start to show.
You're almost reminded me there, Graham, of gold command training. Who's responsible for what and when? Just keep it simple like that. And I do love that phrase, and I've used it ever since.
That's so important. And we know as commanders that the consequences of that can be fatal on occasions. But outside of the police, it can be fatal to your business. It can be fatal to your reputation. Fatal to your mental health. Yeah, well, Gerald Ratner would be a good example of that. That's for viewers of a certain generation.
Yeah. They probably have no idea who we're talking about. I don't know if you've had to use one. It sounds like you might not have, but any advice that you have for people that use CVs?
No, I have used CVs. you know, I have a CV. In fact, that's not true. I have a number of CVs because not because I changed the content, but I changed the profile I give things. So, for example, if I'm applying to a university to give input into their creative writing MA or whatever, then you know my CV will lead on my writing and my police advising. If I'm looking for a role, you know, if I'm you know been asked to apply for to lead a domestic homicide review, then you know paragraphs get moved around, and you know the first bits are about the number of reviews I've done and where I've done them, and so you know I think it's really important to keep your CV fresh. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
Second thing, and this is so important, is your CV should be about what skills and experience you have that you can bring elsewhere. So there's no point saying that you know you sat on a Home Office group on use of force, or you sat on you know a regional group on domestic violence, because for me that says you're good at sitting in a chair. What I want to know is actually what you've done, what skills you brought, what impact you had, you know, how you made a difference, and the kind of I sat on this or I had this job is the context of all of that. So a lot of people I've sort of coached that have said, "Oh, can you have a look at the CV?" And you know, I just said, "No, you need to turn that round, because actually, you know, I don't know what you do other than sit in chairs."
Yeah.
It's about showing your skills, your knowledge, experience, that somebody outside of the police will be able to understand and will find attractive.
You know, Gil, I think you've absolutely hit that one on the head. It's some really great advice, because I think that is the issue for a lot of cops. And I know we picked up from CV writing. We've got an ex-cop that does CV writing for us now. But you're absolutely right. If you've just got a CV that says, I did this, you know, I was a sergeant, I did this, you know, you're not actually telling us those, like you're saying, the outputs and the outcomes.
Yeah.
You're just telling us, and I love that phrase you've used, you sat in a seat, so what?
Yeah.
That's why a lot of cops don't get jobs. That's what we're finding. We're getting feedback that I didn't get the job, but we don't know why. And it's interesting then, because we've got another one of our colleagues who's doing competence-based reviews of people's applications for jobs for exactly that reason.
Right.
You know, are you actually meeting the demands of the job description with a competent? You know, you and I know as STAR as a kind of acronym in terms of giving them back that evidence. So that's really, really good advice. Thanks for that, Graham, and one that we can hopefully our other members will be able to see that as well. And just a thought from you. I mean, I know that with the book writing, you might know more than lots of others here. Competences and skills you feel that are really needed in the outside world, outside of policing.
I think I suppose what I said earlier about work ethic, reliability. You know, nowadays people tend to job hop quite a lot, and they, you know, I've gone in to take over pieces of work that people have finished.
Yeah.
Standard, and I think that kind of work ethic, the reliability, the openness to learn, those personal skills that we all have. You know, we've all to become best friends with people that want to kill us. So you're not going to find anyone that, hopefully you're not going to find anyone that wants to kill you. But you might find people that don't particularly welcome your presence.
Yeah.
You know, it's those kind of negotiating, influencing skills, being able to get people on the side, being able to give fair and professional feedback. It's problem solving, as I say, leadership. All of these things I find are quite rare, because what I find is that because people aren't as committed. I mean, years ago when I joined the police, I knew I was going to. I believed I was going to stay in Sussex Police for 30 years, so a job for life, really.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen anymore. You know, even in the police, it doesn't happen anymore. So people don't have that investment in being able to make a difference in the discipline or the organisation they're working in. And I think police bring that. You know, we bring that desire to get things right. I mean, I sent a draft in for a serious police the other day. And you know, I'm the world's worst self-critic. I really am. You know, And the feedback I got on it, and this isn't blow my own trumpet, the feedback I got on it, you know, absolutely lifted my spirits. And it was like, well, thanks for getting it in such a high standard,
Yeah.
and clearly written. I just think, blimey, yeah, well, I just expected that, you know, that's what. And, but obviously, it's not something that people experience. So,
Yeah.
kind of getting the job done well on time.
Yeah.
In the way that, that the client wants it is, I think, is really important. And I was surprised when that didn't, that wasn't something that was seen very much around the sector that I work in.
Yeah. No, I like that, and it is that thing about that you say. Literally, just being on time is one good thing that we've always been. We're always having to keep away time to be at a certain place. So yeah, one of many little tips here.
I always say to people, you know, if you want, you know, this domestic homicide review that I'm doing, you tell me when you want it by. Just tell me when, because if you don't tell me when you want it by,
yeah,
I've got nothing to work toward, and I will always hit a deadline unless there's a particular reason left. So I haven't got information. And
yeah,
writing, you know, the agent will say, you know, I want it in by the end of next month, or the editor will say,
yeah,
it's back in 6 weeks' time. I'll never miss that. You know,
yeah.
I might sort of pull my hair out trying to achieve the deadline, but it's just not a grenade to miss that.
Yeah. No, it's really good. Good. The timing is something we're always used to. In terms of, I know you said at the very beginning of the interview, you didn't get much kind of assistance from. So in terms of financial advice, and where did you get any before you left, or not long after leaving? In terms of use of pension, that kind of stuff.
I went to there was an Enforce seminar on financial advice, and there was I went to one that was run by the Superintendents Association.
Right.
And I don't really know who they were aimed at. Really, it didn't seem to be aimed at me because, you know, I've got, well, when I retired, I had well, I've still got triplets, but they were 15 at the time.
Wow.
Do their GCSEs, and I knew where my money was going. You know, they're all at university now, so
yeah,
investing in this fund and that particular, you know, putting it in, you know, spreading my money across these, you know, these companies or these areas of the stock exchange, you know, they just didn't. It wasn't relevant to me.
No.
The best advice I had, I went to a private financial advisor and you know, sat down with them with my personal circumstances and
right.
You know, he said to me, "Oh, this is what I reckon you do," and absolutely, you know, it was absolutely on the money for me, literally.
Yeah.
And you know, I think it's very easy to take some of this generic advice that's out there, but you know, it's the same with health. Finances are so personal.
Yeah.
Everybody's different. Everybody's got different appetites for risk. Everyone's got commitments, forthcoming commitments, and I think getting some good, solid financial advice about what to do with your money, where you might want to earn, how you might want to. I mean, my accountant was very good when I set my company back.
Yeah.
In a way that was, I said, the first thing it's got to be is legal. So I'm not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Tell me, or you can get away with this. I'm not interested in that.
Yeah.
Legal first, and I want it, and I want it sort of. Sorry, I'm going to start that bit again. I want it legal first, and I want it simple second.
Yeah.
Those are my first things. So, you know, if I say to you, can I claim this expense, or can I do that? And the answer's possibly, but possibly not. For me, the answer's not. You can't.
Yeah. You need it definitive. Yeah.
Also, I need it to be simple because I'm not somebody that's experienced in, you know, the corporate world or investment or anything like that. So the accountant was very good at setting up a business. So if anyone is setting up a business, I'd recommend find a good accountant, somebody that's not necessarily somebody that's got the biggest advert in the local paper, but somebody that's recommended.
Yeah.
Others that are in a similar position to you.
Yeah.
Really clear what you want from that accountant, and there's plenty out there. So if an accountant says, you know, well, if you do this, you know, no one's going to check.
Yeah. You get it.
You know, thanks very much. We'll go find
Yeah.
Go to sleep at night.
Yeah. It's interesting, Graham. I don't know we're not doing the interview here, but I had a very similar experience when I was joining a society for something, and I was told you can claim tax, and but nobody could tell me where is it in writing that you can claim tax. So I had to get my accountant, and she was very, very good. Exactly what you said. She was very ethical. And she wrote the tax people. She actually did get it for me. but I had no evidence of it from anybody. They're all just saying, yeah, you can do it. Yeah. So I'm with you. It has to be absolutely above board and ethical before, you might be able, you'll get away with it. They won't check you. Forget all that. Yeah. I like your advice there, guys. I like your advice about you've gone to you've personally gone and found your own financial advice, which I think is a really good tip, rather than you're in the room and then it's just generic thrown at you. That's good. And I like your advice about the accountant, because I'm with you. And if you've got your own business, get yourself a decent accountant and like you say, an ethical and above board with somebody with really good reputation. So I like that side of it as well. Yeah. Where do we know with this? And I think you've done this one, Graham. I wasn't too sure if you had, but job interviews. Any hints and tips about job interviews that you've been for since leaving Threesome?
Well, I think it's similar to CVs really in terms of content. It's about understanding what the job is that you're going for, and why you're the best person for it. And being able to evidence that with those competencies, with the skills, the experience, the outputs and outcomes you've achieved, either in the police or for the likes of you and I have been retired for a little while, since the police, and show their relevance to the job you're going for. It's no good saying, I was the chief superintendent at Brighton, because some people won't even know what that is. And
that's true.
You're in charge of the parks then, where it could be. It's about understanding the job, but it's also having that self-belief.
Yeah.
Going in there thinking, actually, do you know what? I have got something to offer. There are lots of things that I've done which will demonstrate my ability to do this, and I don't care that I'm up against. In my case, I was up against directors of former directors of children's services or adult services. Senior people in local government that knew a lot about one particular area. Well, actually, I know a lot about another particular part of this. And so it's about having the confidence in yourself and being brave. And what I say to people, because I coach people for is believe it yourself. If you believe it yourself, it will come out in that way. If you're one of those people that are a bit, it was all a bit lucky really, and then you might as well not waste your petrol going to the interview. Yourself and believe that you're able to do the job yourself, but also if you are, and I don't know many people like this, if you are one of these people that has a tendency towards arrogance, temper that. Just try and temper that. But if you're very quiet and very placid, then just try and puff your chest out a little bit, because you're never going to, it's not in your DNA. You're never going to be arrogant. You're just going
to I agree. It's interesting. It's been a common theme. I think almost every interview people have talked about self-confidence, believe in yourself. If you haven't, you're right. If you don't have that persona of self-confidence, you're just not going to come across well. No. And I'm like you. I'm a coach as well, so I use that phrase a heck of a lot.
On the other side of the table, if you're interviewing, are you gonna give somebody the job? They even believe they can do it themselves. You're not going to, are you? So tables.
It's a good way of looking at it. Put yourself the other side of the table. What do I look like to them? I never thought about it doing it that way, but it's a good way of doing it. Just going back to the leaving bit, then, just going to the whole concept of leaving the police. What do you think was the most daunting aspect of leaving the police?
I think it was this loss of identity.
Right.
I think it was and it wasn't about, loss of power or authority. Anything like that. It was just having that, who am I? What am I? Obviously, I retired at a senior level and had a good pension, still got a very good pension. So it wasn't about, financial need, but it was kind of, what am I now? And I never even realised when I was in the police that I valued the identity so much. Somebody who would kind of strut around with my warrant card showing, or in half. I wasn't at all. But once you leave, you just think, okay, well, who am I now? And I found that quite difficult, and it's still quite difficult to a degree, if I'm honest. And of course, partly through my own fault, because through my writing, my police advising, I'm always kind of the former detective, the former.
That's right.
being reminded of what I was.
Yeah.
I'm a professional has-been.
Yeah, but at least it's got your title.
Yeah, it was that. There wasn't a sort of anxiety about work because
Yeah.
Most of us are lucky and we have pensions coming in.
Yeah.
It was this kind of, okay, so where's my worth coming from?
Yeah. No, that's good. Thanks, Zach. That's really useful as well. And the next one is contact with colleagues still in the force, or contact with people that left the force before or after you. You still see this police family or not?
Yeah, I mean, so more professionally than personally.
Right.
A few close friends that I see personally still, but I don't kind of, I don't go to every leading do, every kind of hang around police stations waiting to say hello to people.
Yeah.
It's more professional. And in fact, I went for a beer with a former colleague a couple of nights ago, and I really looked forward to it and really enjoyed it. And
yeah,
police talk there, and a lot of sort of harping back to the good old days. But also there was a lot of personal stuff as well about Ash family and all that sort of, and that because I don't kind of make a habit of sort of stalking all the colleagues. I'll see good friends personally, and I'll obviously meet with people professionally. I think that's right, really.
Yeah. No, I like that. It's really good. What have we got in here now then? Yeah. I guess if you'd like to visualise the future then, Graham, for you, what would it look like?
My future? My future would be in about, well, I'm not going to say how many years, because it's like Tony Blair saying that I'm not going to stand at the next election. So in time, what I would like to do is I would like to be a full-time writer in police advice. I get so much personal satisfaction out of that. It's so difficult. It's really hard work. Every time I see a book on a bookshelf, I always cry for the author. I don't actually cry.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
How much work has gone into that, and you don't really. The ones that you mentioned some names there, Ian Rankin, Peter Robinson, Peter James. The ones that people find easy to read. It's like being a footballer. It looks easy. It looks easy, not easy to do. So I would love to. I would love to become a full-time writer. I've got every intention of becoming a full-time writer.
Yeah.
And police advisor as well, and just kind of go and write in camper vans in the south of France or wherever.
Yeah. So it's actually go away. It is like go away to that secluded spot, which is very idyllic, and then just like you say, get the brain matter going, and it flows in the style and the way that you want it to flow. Because that's what you hear from everybody that's good at doing the authoring bit.
Yeah, and writing fiction, writing non-fiction, obviously you've got to, your research has got to be assiduous because it will be somewhere. Nothing like that. But writing fiction, you have to really get into the head of your characters. And I sat down in the office a couple of days ago writing a really difficult scene in my novel.
Yeah.
And I thought I was going to come down for about an hour and a half and write. 2.5 hours later, I didn't even realise 2.5 hours had passed.
Yeah.
Emotionally exhausted because of, I'd actually been going through what this character had been.
Yeah.
It's a bit lovely when you say it like that, but it's really difficult. And then you kind of have to think about the technicalities of it all, about how you intersperse dialogue with action, with narrative, and where the balance is. And oh, there's so much to learn, but it's brilliant. And I will never give up the writing, even if I never have another book published. I will never give up the writing.
No, it's good, and it's good to have that desire and all the rest of it. Which moves me on to my kind of last question now, and I know you've got something you want to show our audience, because we saw it, you and I saw it at the beginning. so it is about a special mention for what you do, Graham, in terms of business. And I know you like this authoring, and I know this book is a good seller as well.
Yeah, I mean, just a very small depiction of the book.
It's brilliant. Love it.
Published in 2016. It's not that size, so you can get it funded. So it's
you put it in your bag.
And what that is, it's a non-fiction. It's about the policing of Brighton and Hove.
Yeah.
Told through 90% of it is told through my eyes. There's a couple of cases in there that aren't.
Yeah.
Third person, and it's how they link in to the Roy Grace novels.
Yeah.
So and when Peter and I talked about this, I said, I don't want to write a book that's just kind of, big jobs that I've done.
Yeah.
I want to understand what it feels like to police at all levels in a big cosmopolitan city.
Yeah.
And how it can sometimes affect you professionally and personally, certainly emotionally. I mean, there's a couple of chapters in there that was so difficult to write, and one, I won't spoil it, but there's one that my wife is my first reader, so every time, everything that I do, she reads first of all. And
right.
She's not a teacher, but she could be red pen all the way through. There's a particular chapter that she reads, and every time she's read it, well, I mean, obviously it's published now, but before it published, she's read it probably 8 or 9 drafts of it, and she's in tears every time.
Oh gosh.
Something that we went through, and how that affected how I was policing at that particular time, and how different things could have become if it wasn't for her.
Yeah.
But also, I talk about some, I've got a chapter called Laughing Policeman, which, the funny things, the odd things that we all experience.
Yeah.
Talk about what it feels like to give death messages and some examples about death messages. Because a lot of people get their information about the police from either the media or from crime fiction, and I thought this was a really good opportunity to actually say what it feels like, what it took to be a police. I'm not saying I'm any different, my life is any harder than anybody else, because people would have been through a lot more than I have. Yeah. It's an opportunity, with someone who's got a voice and a profile like Peter, to be able to get that out to a number of people. As for saying, it sold really well. Sunday Times top 10, so that's good. Well,
as I said to you, Graham, before we started recording, my mum has got this book, and I know she's finished it, so I'm actually picking her up today. So I'm going to go and get it, and I will start reading it over the weekend. So I really honestly look forward to reading it, because I've read all of Peter James's books, and I know you've got mentions in most, if not all of those. So I will make sure that I read that one very quickly. And just one last one from me, Graham. I know you're currently writing a book. So what's, in terms of your author side of it, what's next for you then?
I can't talk about the subject matter of my non-fiction, because it's a case that's still ongoing. So I'm waiting for it.
Okay.
So, but that's been really interesting, because that's been partly told through the eyes of somebody else and partly through my eyes, and then the next section will be through a third person. So it's really how I kind of get all that to sort of flow.
Yeah.
But my novel, which I'm writing at the moment, is the kind of message in the novel is what happens when policing is cut to such a degree that vigilantism takes over. So it's told by colleagues that are in the police, I better get on and write it and publish it, because it's going to become historical soon.
Yeah.
So it's about this kind of battle and tension between the traditional police and vigilantism, and how they clash, what the consequences are of that. And there's a reasonably high body count. There's corruption. There's incompetence. Lots of blood. Lots of and it's written as a thriller. So. Which is the interesting bit for me. I'm learning how to write thrillers now.
So if I'm able to ask him, how far are you along in terms of the finished product? Are you halfway, most of the way?
Well, I was halfway, and then Peter looked at it, and now I'm not halfway anymore.
You start again.
I've not completely started again, but I've had to do a really heavy edit on it, because that goes too much technicality.
Yeah.
The way in which people engage with books is around, or certainly this genre of books, is around the characters and the action, and as the world developed, the action wasn't front loaded enough, so I'm having to move some stuff forward, which means I'm having to change the way in which the story is told. It's still the same story.
Yeah.
I'm catching up, but I just count my blessings that I've got in there saying, giving some feedback around that, saying, you know, actually you need, and he doesn't just say, you know, you need to work like that. We sat down for, I think it was the day before Christmas Eve, we sat down for 3 hours in his office.
Yeah.
Exactly how I can make this something that's more more engaging early on. So that's what.
Okay, brilliant, brilliant. I look forward to that one when it comes out. And listen, thanks so much for your time. It's been really, really interesting, and I'm sure everybody will get lots out of this interview. Thanks very much.
Thank you.